Hey guys, and welcome to the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny between A-Move's Dowie up against Halanali's Lizardmen. Both these guys some top tier players running their favourite factions. We are on Iron Sands Desert. Now this was from Turin's Faction Wars, that came out not too long ago, but it was such a good replay, A-Move sent it over to me, and we're going to go into a little bit of analysis and enjoy the game overall for ourselves. So for the forces of the Dowie in the flanks, it looks like we have Dwarf Warriors, cheap and cheerful lads who will hold the line for a long time. It looks like actually on the right hand side we have Longbeards as well as in the front line. Now Longbeards are an amazing pick up against the Lizardmen. They will go toe to toe with Saurus Warriors, hold the line up against Temple Guard, and of course they're old grumblers. These boys do not like running away. Their long flowing beards here looking absolutely glorious. They do have immune to psychology, which makes them pretty decent in this matchup as well. So a nice sturdy front line trying to hold the enemy back, and the reason he's done this is he has a pretty awesome second line of triple Iron Drakes. These guys are the flamethrower variety. Now often you'll see the Troll Hammer Torpedoes as they can do better damage against the large threats, big dinosaurs, burst damage on Temple Guard and all that good stuff. But A-Move knows his opponent well, knows Halanali likes to play that skink skirmisher game, and these guys will roast skinks, pterodons and all that good stuff very effectively. However, they do have quite short range. Now to try and entice the Lizardmen in, he does have two bolt throwers, which, you know, don't do as much damage as cannons, but they have pretty long range, they're relatively accurate, and they're cheap and cheerful. Looks like in Deep Reserve we have some more Dwarf Warriors as well, just holding the line. And then we have triple Slayers, which is like I'm seeing more and more often. Looks like we have Dragonback Slayers as well. To start with, you'd only ever see one unit of these guys, perhaps two, but they're so good in this matchup you might as well bring them. They do great damage against large threats. They're of course unbreakable and can still trade okay with Saurus and Temple Guard, but just not for value of money. These angry dwarfs are going to be looking to try and fulfill some oaths today. And leading the forces is the ultimate Slayer, right up there with Gotrek, and it is Ungrim Iron Fist, a character I am super excited to see in this battle. Look how badass he is. Of course he is unbreakable, he has not brought any of his buffs, so he is just naked, but he can do decent work up against the Lizardmen, can go toe to toe with a lot of their characters, and of course, being a Slayer, can deal with the large threats. I watched Lore Master of Sotek's video recently on Ungrim, and or his Who Would Win series, where he pit Ungrim up against Kolek, and I just wanted to see Ungrim so much, so I've been bringing him on ladder quite a bit. Simply, he's not the most competitive, but he's pretty good fun. And it looks like we have one Gyrocopter with Brimstone Gun up in the skies as well. So now for the forces of Halanali and the Lizardmen, my favourite dino boys, up in the sky, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 Pterodon Riders, including the Pohawks Sentinels Regiment Renowned version, who have a very nice rock drop, which I believe sunders armour, so it could be very good here up against the Dowie. Let's have a little look here. Yeah, it does sunder armour for 30 seconds, minus 30 is certainly no joke. On the flanks, here's a couple of units of the Razordon Hunting Packs. These guys do decent AP, so a nice pick up against the Dowie compared to Salamanders. He has 2 Stegodons, both with the Great Bows. This is something I've been using quite a lot recently, but it looks like he actually has them with the Skink Priests, making them a bit more expensive. But we do have a Manticore Summon and a Flock of Doom on this one. And on the second one, we have just Orion's Thunderbolt, can be very effective at taking down siege equipment. He has Krokgar as his lord, standing boldly in the middle here, already firing off an early Hand of the Gods into the Gyrocopter, but not the best pick to be honest. A lot of those shots are going to miss, as you can see. And it's okay damage, I suppose. For his main battle line, which is kept in Deep Reserve for now, it looks like we have just cheap and cheerful skink cohorts mixed in with the Regiment Renowned cohort of Sotek. Their armor piercing is certainly going to come in handy. And yeah, just going to have a couple of units of skink cohorts and an ancient salamander, which I'm sure Noob for Life will be excited to see this guy. He's been bringing in quite a lot on my streams recently and can do decent long range damage as long as he is unimpeded, which with this Dowie force, as long as he can escape the bolt throws, he should be fine. So straight off the bat, it looks like both Stegodons going to be targeting down the bolt throws in a long-range skirmish off. The Stegodons will certainly win this engagement. They are relatively accurate as well, but of course rock a lot more health than the Dowie. As we can see, an early Orion's Thunderbolt is coming down here, but it looks like A-Move on point here does move his Dowie out the way, and it looks like just a few of the Dwarfs did catch the blast there, but it looks like all the War Machines are still operational, which is the main point here. Now, A-Move's going toe-to-toe at the moment with the Skink Priest because he may as well try and do as much damage as possible, and he looks like he is trying to fend off the Pterodons on the flanks using the assistance of the Iron Drakes and the Brimstone Guns, who are doing a decent job so far, but need to be very careful as they can easily be sniped out by the Lizardmen Air Force. More Iron Drakes as well, just pushing away the Pohawk Sentinels where possible. So overall, nice defensive box has been built by the Dwarfs. It is what they're known for. They're good geometry here. Pushing up slightly, but at the same time, there's no point running at this build, as Halanali would simply kite him and pick him apart. So he's still holding the line, burning those pterodons gloriously here, and forcing them back, doing some pretty decent damage. However, these poor bolt thrower crews are taking an absolute hammering so far, and slowly being forced back. Raisdon's getting a little bit close for comfort here, probably trying to fire into the Iron Drakes. They've accidentally wandered into some Longbeards. Not where they want to be. These dwarfs lift up their axe, and all of a sudden the action kicks off in one go. And they start hacking and slicing at these Raisdons. But Raisdons, they're a little bit tanky. They've got lots of spikes and all that good stuff, so they're going to escape with very minimal losses here. It looks like a cold-blooded did get popped up on the Pohawk Sentinels, keeping them in the action for now. And these Longbeards don't want to chase for too long, need to fall back to his defensive pocket and endure. And that's all the Dowie can do here, but it is what they're known for, so it should be some good fun. Skink Priest of Heavens down to nearly half health, but it looks like for the bolt throwers, this one down to simply one bolt thrower left, and same with this one. So the bolt throwers are nearly done for, unfortunately. Brimstone guns being used very conservatively here, sticking in the defensive box as much as possible, which is a really good play, and getting some good value so far. Still no kills, but the damage is what counts. Iron Drakes forcing back pterodons wherever they can. Raisdons flinging shots over onto the bolt throwers. Of course, they should probably ignore these guys for now and start tackling either those Iron Drakes or these Slayers. I would certainly be taking my Pterodon Riders and picking on these guys as much as possible, as they're basically the only threats to these two gigantic dinosaurs which are lurking on the hills. More flame attacks are trying to push away the Pterodons, as Raidons once again come in here, sneaking along, slinking as they do, heads low as they jiggle, before launching a few more shots once again into the Iron Drakes, trying to force those guys off, knowing that they will roast his skinks very, very quickly once the battle does get underway. Now, at this point on the live stream, I was actually watching it, and it was a good fun tournament overall. A lot of people in the comments were saying the Dwarfs are absolutely done for. They've taken huge damage, they've lost both bolt throwers, and a lot of their units are starting to be picked apart. But the Dowie are known to endure, and once they get to the front line of the Lizardmen, they will dumpster this very, very quickly, and the big Stegodons are a problem, but of course he has the Slayers for that, and the Lizardmen aren't currently targeting those guys down. They're trying to force off the Iron Drakes instead, which I think possibly may be a small mistake, simply because of the fact that the Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards are going to be able to deal with the Skinks regardless, and it's the Slayers, I feel, which are the real threat. So I'll be trying to finish them off as much as possible, but then again, Halinali, much better Lizardman player than me, so I'm sure he knows his stuff. Pterodon Riders trying to sneak in on the Gyrocopters here, who do need to fall back a little bit, but it looks like the Pterodons have in fact started to rout. These Gyrocopters could now be used to simply chase these guys off where possible. Raisdons still lurking on the wings, trying to get some great value, and they're going to use up all their ammunition before the main line engages, which is the right thing to do here. Trying to peel away as many Dwarf Warriors as possible and pick on them. Iron Drake's taking quite a beating now. However, they have done a decent amount of damage back to these Pterodons, but two of the units are still active, and it looks like the third one in fact did indeed come back here. A move perhaps not wanting to push out too far wide with these Gyrocopters in case they got isolated on their own. Raisdon's being forced back once again by Longbeards, who need to keep forcing back, retreating, forcing back, retreating. Unfortunately, it is the only way for them to play. The Skink Priest of Heavens and the Skink Priest of Beasts are nearly out of ammunition. The Beast just using its last missile there, and it looks like ammunition-wise down here we have 3 shots left before the rest of this force will start to advance. Ancient Salamander is going to be really good here, as you can see, decimating a big portion here of those Longbeards, and in comes another Vomit perfectly down the line here as well. Fantastic play with this Salamander, doing huge damage straight out the gate, up to 13 kills, but half HP is lost on the unit of Longbeards here. Gyrocopters were starting to float over, trying to get a little bit aggressive, but Pterodons are hunting them down where possible. In the back lines, Razordons, Pterodons still all lurking. More shots now coming by the Razordon hunting back, hunting down at the Iron Drakes by the looks of it, or perhaps even these Slayers. More fire is going up gloriously into the Pohawk Sentinels. Again, a little bit danger close, but a rock drop most likely going to be coming down soon. He wants to use it up before these guys do break and get forced off the field. And of course, the more models you have, the more rocks you have to drop. Looks like Bolt Thrower crew has unfortunately started to break it, which, you know, was kind of expected throughout, but they did okay. They did some pretty decent damage to the big nasty Stegodons. Now it looks like the Stegodon of Beast has finally decided to come in here for a cheeky bit of cycle charging. Dragonback Slayers lifting their axes high. They always look so funny when they kind of waddle forward like this. Chasing down that Skink Priest, forcing him off back to the swamps from whence he came, and then before falling back to this defensive pocket. Now this is a really good example of one fantastic Lizardmen skirmish play, which you don't get to see terribly often. A lot of people don't play them skirmish, and also some fantastic classic Dowie play with that defensive formations. So the Skink Priest just hopping between combats where he can, trying to drag out the Slayers before falling back and hitting in a different section. The Ancient Salamander up to 42 kills, doing a very decent job up against Longbeards, no doubt. And over on the left-hand flank though, Raised on Hunting Packs almost getting caught once again by some Dwarf Warriors, but excellent play here by Halanali, pulling these guys back to the safety of the desert. Pterodon Riders taking a little bit more damage as well from flamethrowers. These guys are all pretty beat up, but they're still active, which is really key. They can drop in late game or be useful to chase off units at death. Bolt Thrower crew are rallying here, which is quite funny coming back, but I believe all of their artillery pieces are going to be destroyed. Gyrocopters of Brimstone guns have run out of ammunition now, so pretty good value for them overall. Slayers desperately trying to get to grips with the Skink Priest of Beast and hunt him down. Even some Longbeards pushing forward as well. Are they going to be able to nip at his heels? Charge, lads! Lads! Get him! Looks like that Stegodon just about going to be able to escape here, as Pterodon Riders do lurk, and the main Lizardman bulk is starting to advance now. Razordon's using up all their ammunition. No kills though so far on this unit, and on the second unit only 10 kills, so not the biggest amount of kills, but again is that HP damage. You can see how beat up and bruised this Dowie build is before the main engagement even really has got underway. Razordons, once again, it looks like they are focusing down at the Iron Drakes as much as possible, trying to get those guys off the battle line before the cohort of Sotek and these nasty skinks do appear. More flames darting in the back there, once again trying to force these guys off, but great micro by both players so far. A move trying to counteract whatever Halanali's doing, and Halanali jinking, weaving, bobbing, all that good stuff, duck, dive, dodge, all that good stuff with his units here to try and minimise the damage whilst maximising his own profit as well. Raised-On's getting some fantastic value so far. Ancient Salamander getting a taste of his own medicine here with a big old volley of flame. You'd think the Ancient Salamander would have some kind of flame resistance. Actually, I think he does. Yeah, so let's pop in here, as Susan does run away from us. Does she? No, just missile resistance. Being a fire-breathing little Drake, you'd assume that she did, but she doesn't. Takes quite a big volley there. Ungrim simply stands and waits, staring down Krokgar. He's not scared. He's not daunted by this early skirmish phase. He's happy just to sit there with his hefty axe and wait for the foes to come seek him. Pterodons darting back and forth for now. No missiles left on those guys. And once again, in comes the Skink Priest of Beast as Slayers once again peel out of the centre pocket. But Halanali's so on point with his micro now, peeling back the Skink Priest. Going to be luring the Slayers into no man's land where Razors can pick on them just a little bit more. More flames now coming into these Razors, doing some okay damage, and the Lizardmen are slowly being caught out now and again. This is a heavy micro-intensive build. You can see over on this flank some Razors did unfortunately rampage. A Cold-Blooded did come down, but they were forced into the Longbeards, and they had the crap beaten out of them, down to just 4 models now. Those guys are going to be gone for the majority of the battle, you would assume. Razordon's popping in the back now, starting to focus down the Slayers, which is a really good key point. He needs to bring down the Slayers as they're the main threats now to these Skink Priests. And Slayers, though, have managed to catch some Razordons in the back here, going to be doing some pretty decent damage. And of course, the Razordons can rampage if they take too much damage overall. We do hear a Manticore summon. Where are you? Up over here in the main battle line as the Pterodons start to swoop down, trying to pin in the Iron Drakes as the Skinks do advance. However, cohort of Sotek still taking flame shots to the face, which is really not good for these guys at all. You can see their health just disappearing. But in the back, the Skink Priest does launch himself in. There are some Longbeards to counter, but no Slayers, unfortunately. The Pterodons are being eaten up by Dragonback Slayers very effectively. And the Manticore does swoop in here, but is now surrounded by Slayers and will get dragged down very effectively. Ungrim looks like he's duking the attacks on the advances here of Krokgar as best as possible. Just jogging away. He's going to be hunting down this Pharaoh Manticore, wanting him to get off the field as quickly as possible and to save the Iron Drakes. Krokgar still on the hunt. Over on this flank, the Skink Priest of Beast, or Heaven, sorry, has managed to crack the Dowie Warriors' resolve there, break them, force them off the field, and this part of the formation has crumbled. Slayers dealing with Skink cohorts, which of course they will kill a lot of the Skink cohorts, but it's really bad value for them as they want to be on the big nasty targets. The second Pharaoh Manticore has been summoned here as the Skink Priest of Beast has used up all his value now, but is completely surrounded by Dragonback Slayers in a very dangerous situation. These boys going to be jumping, swinging their axes and hewing at this giant beast, pulling off clumps of flesh and scale. Of course, Skink Priest on the Stegodon is very, very tanky. Kill of Sotek have popped Refuse to Die, 31 models left, which is really nice play. And there's a big blob fires. Ungrim bellows a death blow, a death vow here, sorry. Charges after the Skink Priest of Heavens, doing some pretty decent damage. try and hunt him down as much as possible, but a big Flock of Doom has been brought in to counter. Flock of Doom going to do okay damage, of course. Dowie do have magic resistance, but it only is a limited amount. Skink Priest trying to bounce back and forth, has managed to finally escape the Dragonback Slayers, needs to get out of here as quickly as possible. A Cold-Blooded has been popped on him to keep his leadership nice and topped up. Susan here is darting around the battlefield as well, up to 119 kills, an absolute MVP so far as she slinks away from the main combat. You'll see a lot of hit and run is coming in from the Lizardmen, as Razorons even bound into combat against Dwarf Warriors, trying to break these guys and really help the Skink cohort punch above their weight. As the Ferroman's Core does swoop in as well, he's going to be disappearing shortly, however, into the mist. The Lizardmen pretty tattered at this point as well, balance power heavily in their favour, simply due to the amount of early damage they did, but Skink cohorts getting beat up all over the place, and even the Skink Priests of Beast and Heavens are both pretty weak at this point, having dealt a lot of combats here up against Slayers. Seeing the back lines, the Dragonback Slayers slowing down the Skink Priest. The Cold-Blooded has been popped on him, trying to keep him in the action, as Krokgar does launch himself into the aid there, and it looks like he's using the attack animation to escape these Slayers as well before popping on top of the Iron Drakes. But these guys are persistent, to say the least. Hunting this guy down, he's just down to 500 health. Ungrim's in here as well. He can probably turn around and block this guy in and force him down. But 292, 247, 200. He is starting to get slaughtered now. And down the majestic beast goes with a crash. A huge Hand of the Gods coming into the rear of Ungrim. Very rude indeed. Doing some fantastic damage straight out the gate. But the Dowie are rallying to the king. And you can see Lizardmen have started to run out of steam, which of course does happen with skirmish forces the longer the game goes on. Ancient Salamander, though, still relatively healthy, and we still have some Razorons, although they're not the greatest in combat, they will do okay. The Skink Priest of Heaven's down to just 1,887 hit points, but the main problem here for A-Move and the Dowie is Krokgar, still at full health, and there's nothing here which is perfect for dueling him. Ungrim can probably go toe-to-toe, but he doesn't have any of his buffs. It looks like Krokgar doesn't either, though, but Ungrim has taken some initial damage from the hand. Balance of power relatively even now. We can see the Dowie is still outnumbered, but only just. And this is a credit to both players here. It's been a very long game indeed, which is pretty, hard on your micro. Really fantastic play coming in here. So the Skink's trying to hop on top of the Dragonback Slayers, do as much damage to those guys as possible without them being allowed to touch the big targets. But A-Move buffering them away with the Longbeards here, as well as the Bolt Thrower crew, who are hilariously charging in as well. Look at these lads, glorious warriors. Shutting down these Skink cohorts, at least for a time. Dragonback Slayers have now managed to surround the Ancient Salamander, but it looks like it was a trap. Urion's Thunderbolt also coming in once again, but it looks like the majority of the Dwarf forces do manage to escape. A few unlucky Longbeards do go down, however. Krokgar's slightly isolated here. Ungrim should probably attack here with his Longbeards, hop in with the Slayers, surround him and try and pound him down as quickly as possible, as the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny has kicked off. Krokgar now finally taking a bit of damage, but at the same time a big blow to Ungrim there, who is going to be falling back with the Dragonback Slayers surrounding Krokgar. Looks like Ungrim desperately trying to chase after the Skink Priest of Heavens, and he is one of the best answers along with the Dragonback Slayers, perhaps trying to take out all the threats before surrounding Krokgar at the death. Flaming shots do coming onto the Razor on the hunting packs, rampaging those guys, so they are going to be charging into Ungrim and the Slayers. And yeah, these Razor on the hunting packs are completely doomed, and they do start to rout. Krokgar just about catches up, only for the Slayers to laugh and run away in the other direction. The Mighty Stegodon doth not care for your mere flames Dowie, and just charge straight through, taking a few scorch marks on his thick hide, but those units really designed for anti-infantry, not anti-armour. Skink Priest simply going to be trolling and running away as much as possible. Ancient Salamander bouncing between combats very effectively. Not the worst melee combatant, a little bit squishy, but it's hopping onto the Iron Drakes here doing a decent job. Up to 133 kills is very impressive indeed. Ungrim constantly fleeing Krokgar here, which could be a mistake as he's taking a lot of damage every time he does retreat, but it looks like he's going to be turning and fighting now. Krokgar taking a massive Huron strike there as he is nearly cleft in two by the mighty axe of Dargo. Ungrim, though, going to be rotating around, trying to hunt down the Skink Priest. A fantastic Thunderbolt is going to be coming here on the Slayers. Looks like they are going to be able to escape just about. And he does rescue Krokgar, who was completely surrounded there. Really nice play so far with all the magic coming in from the Lizardmen. A big engagement has taken place. The Stegodon attempts to ram Ungrim, but Ungrim is not phased. He is faced mightier beast than this, holds his line, and gets in a big smack. But unfortunately taking a lot of attacks when he is running out of these engagements. He was a little bit isolated there by Krokgar and the Stegodon, though, so I approve of pulling out of the combat. Now hopping in onto the Skink cohorts, forcing those guys off and assisting the Dragonback Slayers. Balance power very heavily in the favour of the Lizardmen now, but that's majority down to the hit points of their commanders, which does play a big part in the balance of power. The Skink Priest of Heaven just dragging himself through the combat over top of the Dragonback Slayers. Really good play here. Still has 965 HP. And Ancient Salamander doing a decent job, but now he's starting to struggle a little bit with the only enemies remaining being these Slayers. And in comes the Beast Megalon as well. Launches the way through and throwing Ungrim to the ground. The Mighty Dwarf Warrior has been pushed to his knees, but he will be getting up, no doubt. Dragonback Slayers, there's only 12 of those guys left, and it is just... Oh, apparently there is 23 Dowie left, but I'm assuming they are all running for the hills. Yeah, Longbeard's over in the distance. It is, unfortunately, just Ungrim and his Slayer King, which is to be expected. They are unbreakable. They attempt to surround Krokgar here, who is now down to nearly half health. Ungrim taking big blows. He's quite a slow fellow. He's desperately trying to hunt down the Stegodon as much as possible, but every time he pulls back, Krokgar is getting in those cheeky rear hits. Ungrim, though, not doing too bad. A big slap on the rear of that Skink Priest does, in fact, rout the Mighty Beast. 252 hit points as well. And it looks like the Dragonback Slayers attempting to surround Krokgar here. And in comes Ungrim. He's going to have to do a lot of cycle charging now and hope Krokgar gets caught up on these Slayers as much as possible. Krokgar down to 163 health, 159, but gets another big smack on Ungrim as he does retreat. Only 174 left. And Krokgar roars victorious in Ungrim's face there. Rips out to the Dowie's heart and laughs at his poor Slayers trying their best. But the fight literally has come down to just Krokgar versus 5 Dragonback Slayers, as the rest of the Lizardmen forces think, you know what, Krokgar, he's a big boy, he can handle this himself. Cold-Blooded does get popped down. Krokgar with 1,300 hit points is going to win the day here up against that last Slayer, who is trying his best, trying to please Ungrim as much as possible. And he's doing a decent job, but down he goes. What a crazy game. This was probably the best game in the stream in my humble opinion, and A-Move sent it across to me because I think it was one of his favourite games he's ever played, even though it was a loss. And that's the sign of a great player as well, someone who enjoys the game regardless of wins and losses. 2 great builds overall. Once, as I said previously, the Iron Drakes, I prefer the Warhammer torpedo variety myself, but knowing Halinali, knowing the way he likes to play those skirmish game, I highly approve of the flamethrowers and this build in general. It's a bit unfortunate he came up against the double Stegodons with the great bows, which managed to threaten and push back those bolt throws and gave Lizardmen free reign. But again, A-Move, great job at limiting the amount of damage he did take, forcing back Raised-Ons wherever possible, making them attack units they don't really want to attack, and protecting those Slayers, which really helped carry him in the late game. It's always great to see Ungrim. And Halinali, there's not much that I can say about him that hasn't already been said by other streamers over the course of his Total War Warhammer career. One of the best players in the game, fantastic Lizardman main overall, and what great value. A real fantastic showcase of how to play Lizardmen in a different format, playing them in a skirmish, which I do actually quite a lot at the moment as well. I tend to bring the 2 basic Stegodons and a Slann to heal them, but I quite like the idea actually of the double Skink Priest coming in. Gives him great utility with his spells. The longbows as well can of course take out bolt throws, cannons and so forth, and then such good value from the Raised-Ons HP wise, and of course that Ancient Sally there, big old Susan, 137 kills, is probably going to be the man of the match. Hope you guys did enjoy this battle. If you did, please do consider giving it a big old thumbs up and a subscribe. Now, we did have a stream yesterday. Unfortunately, it cut out because my internet in the whole, I believe, of London for Virgin Media just died, which was very frustrating. So I've recorded the rest of that tournament, or it was 2 best of 3s. We've recorded it all off screen. The replays have been sent to me. Unfortunately, I don't have time to put it up today because it will probably be about an hour-long video. So that's going to be up on Monday. So please do keep your eyes peeled for that. Once again, sorry for having to shut down the stream a little bit early, but we'll have loads more Total War content on the way. So what do you guys think of this battle? Let me know what DLC units you're looking forward to the most, and most importantly guys, peace, and as always, stay awesome.